Scene couldn't stop thinking about the sight of his son that morning. His son, a college student, had a healthy look that Scene noticed as he lifted the blanket to wake him up. Nowadays, Scene is dating his son. Even now, as lunchtime approaches, his heart still flutters with excitement at the sight of his son's healthy appearance in the morning. It's been a few years since he saw his son like that, but other than the thought that his son is growing up well, he didn't have any other thoughts. Scene, in his late 40s, suddenly remembered the time when his son Justin became his own. Scene, who is 10 years older than Scene, could not get pregnant after marrying a man who loved children more than anyone else, and Scene also wanted a child. Scene, who got married in her 20s to a husband with a more solid wealth than her friends, desperately wanted a child. She went to the gynecologist because she could not get pregnant. Scene was healthy in all basic tests, and her fallopian tubes were not blocked. So she decided to try to get pregnant by taking medicine. She visited the gynecologist for a year, took medicine, and tried to have a child by keeping dates. But she never saw 2 lines on the pregnancy tester. Out of frustration, Scene had her husband go to the gynecologist for a test. As a result of the test, she found out that her husband's sperm activity was too low to have a child, so she decided to adopt a child. The son she met now through the adoption agency, Justin, was the child of an unmarried mother. The mother of the child was studying at a language school and fell in love with a native teacher, but their love did not last long. Justin's biological mother was a college student, and she heard from here and there that she could raise a child in a single mother's facility. So she went through a tough interview and raised a child in the agency. But she really didn't know that the so-called welfare people would treat her like that. The support for the child was overflowing, but a woman called the director suspected that Justin's mother and the director's husband were not ordinary, so she had to leave the single mother's facility. And she tearfully asked the nursery to take care of Justin. And because the child was a mixed-race child and the skin color was very different, she earnestly asked to try hard so that he could be adopted into a good family, as his life may not be smooth in the future. Justin the boy had blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin, and whether his parents had a big build, or whether Scene fed him well, he grew up to be 185 tall when he was in high school. Justin, who has a model-like appearance and kind eyes, grew up very cool. Scene and her husband announced the fact of open adoption to the surroundings, and provided support so that he could grow up as a healthy child in body and mind. Raising Justin came with many unforeseen difficulties, but he grew up to be a lovable and cheerful child. Justin recently started college and is deeply immersed in campus life. His father is thinking of buying him a car if commuting becomes difficult, because the school is a bit far. At some point, Scene realized that her feelings for Justin had changed 180 degrees from her original pure motherly love. In fact, she started to see Justin as a man, not a son. Her husband, who will be celebrating his 60th birthday in a couple of days, has gratefully worked hard as a businessman since they were dating, and his family was also financially well off. Scene's family was economically comfortable, but her husband did not seem to value their marital relationship. They would be intimate maybe once a year. When Scene was dating her husband, he treated her like a princess and never stopped showering her with gifts. She innocently married him after hearing that men with a large age gap usually treat their partners well. However, her husband, who had no particular chronic disease and did not exercise, could not satisfy Scene's overflowing desires due to lack of physical strength from focusing on business. Scene's heart is complicated these days as she sees her precious son, Justin, who is not her biological child, as a man, with his model-like appearance, slim body, and muscular figure from his love for sports. Scene loved Justin very much. She wanted to ask other mothers if they felt the same, special feelings when their sons stopped growing and became adults. But who could she ask such a thing? Scene met her current husband in college. She had never been with anyone before. She didn't even casually date anyone in her teens. Her husband was her first man. As a young woman who married a much older man, this was especially true for Scene. Justin, in a rush for his first class, hurried off to school, and Scene, who woke up late in the morning, headed to Justin's room. His bed was still disheveled. As Scene thought about Justin in his room, she wondered why she kept having thoughts she shouldn't have as a mother. She slapped her forehead a few times, finished cleaning, and had coffee in the kitchen. Yes, calm down. Justin is my lovely son. Is menopause approaching? Stop thinking. That night, like any other, her husband came home drunk from drinking with a client. He was snoring so loudly that it shook the room. Suddenly, she wanted to see Justin. As she approached his room, she saw the light from his lamp seeping out. She quietly opened the door, thinking he was studying, but Justin was already asleep. Seeing her son Justin's healthy figure lying in bed, Scene could not quell her rising desire. This is wrong. I'm Justin's mom. No. I'm the mother who raised Justin. We don't share a drop of blood. Justin is an adult now. It's okay. Her thoughts tangled up. However, Scene could not hold back anymore and started to arouse her son, and he began to wake from his sleep. Justin was surprised for a moment, but they both silently obeyed their instincts. Justin tried to say something to his mother, but he could not continue his words due to the strong stimulus he was feeling from her for the first time. As he grew up, Justin felt strange seeing how different he was from his parents. However, Scene and her husband had told Justin from a young age that he was an openly adopted child, and the only precious baby in the world. Justin was curious about who his biological parents were, but he never thought about looking for them. He lived diligently knowing that his parents were sacrificing for him, and he respected and loved his parents. But recently, Justin has been having a problem. He started to feel special about his mother. When he saw his friends' mothers, they often appeared natural without makeup, but his mother was always dressed neatly without an ounce of fat. Furthermore, despite the large age difference with his father, she was always beautifully made up at home, and her tone was always sweet and gentle. It hasn't been long since he started to see his mother as a woman, but it seemed that his mother was thinking the same. He apologized for not being able to muster the courage to approach her first, and they made love 3 times. The two confessed their love for each other. From that day on, they almost shared their love every day. Justin was really healthy and robust. Scene was a mature woman. However, they did not know that they had been caught making love by his father. From the very first day, Justin's father, who was drunk and sleeping, went to the bathroom and noticed that Scene was not in bed and went out to the living room. Scene was not in the kitchen or the study. When he went to the entrance, her shoes were still there. With a hunch, he went to Justin's room. They were making love in a frenzy. It felt like the sky was falling. Scene's husband thought about how lonely Scene must have been all this time. He did not realize Scene's loneliness, thinking that earning money would be enough. When his friends joked at a drinking party, asking how often they do it, there was no house like his that did not do it. He was shocked to hear that they had marital relations once or twice a week, no matter how busy or tired. He retorted, "Isn't once or twice a week only possible during the honeymoon period?" But he recalled his friend's words, "Be careful, it's a big deal if you leave your wife lonely. Do you think a married woman, who has a lot of time after raising a child, can't make a boyfriend? You should be good to your wife. Women need to receive a man's love to live." He thought about what would please Scene. He had a friend who was a urologist, and he seriously consulted him. His friend advised that if he were in his 50s and did interior decoration, his wife would be very pleased. He trusted his friend and did the interior decoration. That day, he shyly confessed to Scene. And Scene spent the happiest night of her married life. Scene has been sharing love alternately with the two men recently, and she has lost weight to the point that she has lost even the fat she didn't have before. Scene's husband decided to consider his wife more, although it was late. He even reduced his drinking parties with acquaintances. He was ashamed of himself for seeing his young son as a competitor, but there was nothing he could not do thinking of his still young wife. He started exercising, which he had never done before, and spent a lot of time with his wife. The reality that he is sharing his wife with his precious son Justin, who is more precious than gold, is bitter, but seeing Scene happy after the interior, he feels like he is going back to his honeymoon. Scene has been sharing love almost every day with her husband and son these days. But she can't tell anyone about this happy situation. She can't tell anyone that she has two men who satisfy her every night,